Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I'm Nikki, and today I am going to be discussing Disclosure Day. Now, I saw this film a couple of days ago, and I've been trying to process much of what was fed to the masses. I really felt that this was a disinfo project or some sort of psy-op. And I'm saying this right away because this film was not like any other Spielberg film. It was like a deliberately bad film. And I'm trying to still process much of what I saw because anytime you see a film by a well-known director who is an insider, you try to look for clues, you try to look for Easter eggs, you try to decode the film because there are two ways to view the film, right? There's the way that most people view it and it's all at face value. And then there's the other way where you try to decode it. Try to look into the symbolism and the nuances and things that are, read between the lines. So if you haven't seen the film, don't worry, I'm not going to spoil it for you. But I will say that this is the kind of film you could just stream. You really don't need to see it in the theater unless you really want to be bored for 2 straight hours. And I'm saying this as a starseed. I'm saying this as an experiencer, and I'm saying this as an intuitive. Much of what you need to know is already within. I talk about this in my books. I've spoken about this in great detail about how all the keys are within. I have dogs barking in the background. That's a synchronicity for Sirius, for you Sirius starseeds out there. Sirius A, B, and C. Okay, but getting back to the film, this film was rather a mockery. I felt it was an insult to the public because there were many fool's errands or, wild goose chases, and it was just a very goofy film. Even the supporting actors were rather goofy, like the partners of the main characters. They were just absolutely unnecessary to the story. There was a lot of ridicule and horsing around, okay? And it dragged on for a good 2 hours, and you really just have to watch the last 10 minutes of the film to really get whatever the message was of the film. And once you get it, there's a non-ending. So it's kind of like a major FU to the public because a lot of people go to see it because they want to have some sort of validation for their suspicions or their own independent study or their own internal investigations about, what's out there. And this is not that type of film. You can get this in other films such as, the X-Files series or films. You can get this from Independence Day and other films that actually have a point. This film did not really have a point. That said, you can decode a lot of the messages in the film. There's a lot of MK Ultra programming. There's some Monarch programming. There's heavy references to butterflies on the walls of the little girl's room and so on. There's a lot of Alice in Wonderland programming and questioning religion. There's a lot of, I would say, Wizard of Oz programming. There's a heavy emphasis on Kansas and I'll leave it to you to decide who is the Cowardly Lion and the Tin Man and the Scarecrow, but they stick right out. And Dorothy is pretty much obvious, but it's the sort of film where it's not quite complete. I felt it was rather generic. And this is all my own personal opinion. By all means, you be the judge, whether you choose to see it in theaters or stream it later. But I did want to share this because I felt that a lot of people had mixed reactions to this film. They either really loved it or were pretty disappointed. And I'm falling in that category where I was like, it could have been better. It wasn't the worst movie, but it wasn't the best. So I'm really trying to grade it. If I had to give it a score, I'd give it a 6 or 7 at most. It was pretty weak for a Spielberg film. That said, I know this guy is an insider, and we know he has done other works such as E.T. and Close Encounters of the Third Kind, which were a bit more on the nose. This wasn't even in the ballpark. This was just kind of a random hodgepodge of various campy tales just thrown into one really strange story. I felt as an experiencer that it was kind of a mockery of what's happening out there. I was a reptilian experiencer, and I did go into this in a previous video, but for those who missed it, I had some of my awakenings, a few years ago, where I remembered past lives in Sirius A, past lives in Orion, in the star system of Bellatrix, and past lives in, previous incarnations on Earth. And then there was one that stood out where I was taken by a reptilian and microchipped. And I could hear the voice. And as soon as I heard the voice, I woke up. It was like on command. So I say all this because there's so much out there. There's so many questions out there. But I feel like these are the types of stories that need to be told. And they don't need to be told from a point of fear or confusion. They need to really be acknowledged. They need to be articulated carefully, because there are a lot of misinterpretations out there. There's a lot of misunderstandings out there. For instance, I had a past life where I was actually in an alliance with a reptilian lineage. So I was a predecessor of the Anunnaki as a blue Syrian humanoid being who married a reptilian being from Sirius C. And I was from Sirius A, and we had children, and they went on to become the Anunnaki. Okay. And later on, I had incarnations in that lineage as an Anunnaki on Earth. I've had incarnations as well in Lemuria and Atlantis and Egypt and Greece and Celtic Britain and West Africa, and as a slave during the diaspora and so on. And in this lifetime, I am an Rh negative Celtic Basque African American. So there is a lot there. The answers are there. It takes a lot of internal investigations. They are not going to tell you what's happening. I really feel like my personal story aside, and I'm just one of many experiencers and starseeds out there who have been trying to process this hot mess of a film. I felt the film was propaganda, to be honest. I felt that it is to prepare humanity for what is going to be a staged, possibly a staged UFO invasion, okay? And this is something that we've been warned about previously by the Third Reich, Nazi paperclip scientists from Operation Paperclip, such as Werner von Braun, okay, and others who have warned that they are eventually going to stage some sort of global threat or global invasion by UFOs or extraterrestrials so they can usher in a global dictatorship. So, and I feel like we just have the right dumb leadership right now where that could be a possibility, because I don't think we have ever seen corruption at the level we're seeing it. So it all falls into place. But those are just my first thoughts, and I'm not going to spend much more time on this. Again, this was just one movie. It's just a movie, but I felt that because the influence is so strong, I just wanted to kind of, share my thoughts on it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll have more for you soon. Thank you so much for listening, and happy journeying to you.